Good morning. So let's talk about lobby groups, right? We know the pharmaceutical industry has huge lobbies. That's why they get their drugs passed so quickly, because they give huge donations to candidates to help them get elected so that when their drugs come up for approval by the FDA, they get approved quickly. Whether or not their drugs are safe or not is not the problem. The problem is they need the drugs on the market so that we, the consumers, will start getting hooked on them and they make a lot of money. Many years ago, as many of you smokers know, the tobacco lobby, Big Tobacco, was a big lobby group for Republicans. It always seems it's the Republicans, isn't it? Because Republicans always say when they run for office that they are for less government. We want government out of your business, unless, of course, it's your bedroom or your doctor's office, or if you're a woman, your body, your very body. The Republicans think government should control all that, but they want the government to be smaller. That's what they say. So they don't want government telling a business owner, for example, that they can't have smokers in their establishment indoors. And so the tobacco industry, this is going to be important. Believe me, you're going to get this as I connect dots. See, I can connect dots really well. Political Paula here has connected a lot of dots in the last year. And it's been a year now, by the way, that this show has been on the air. So happy anniversary me, yay. But the tobacco lobby was huge with Republicans because you had the Democrats, mostly Democrats, were the ones that were pushing for smoking laws, legal tobacco use, but to say, well, you can't smoke inside, you can't smoke in an office building, you can't smoke here, you can't smoke there. That started sort of with the Democrats. The Republicans pushed back on it. During George W. Bush, during his administration, smoking bans didn't go much further than they had previously. During Obama, the smoking laws got worse. During the Obama administration, a Democratic administration, even with a president who himself was a smoker, closeted smoker, we started seeing the outdoor smoking bans. You can't smoke on a beach. You can't smoke on a boardwalk. You can't smoke in your car if there's a person under 18 in your car. Blah, 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 blah. But before all that, the tobacco industry had a huge presence financially in electing people to Congress, to Senate, and even to the presidency. They gave billions of dollars to candidates that they felt would be on their side for promoting their product, which their product is legal cigarettes. Legal cigarettes. Now, what started happening with the tobacco lobby is that people started using their legal product, not the way it was intended to be used, but they started abusing it. You know, people started using legal cigarettes as a food group. People would smoke 4, 5, 6 packs of cigarettes a day, and then these people got sick, and instead of blaming themselves for abusing the product, they blamed Big Tobacco. They blamed the people who made the product. And they started suing them. And to the shock of a lot of people, they won these lawsuits. People actually won money from the tobacco industry for abusing their product. It's kind of like, you know, Budweiser is to blame because you're an alcoholic. And that's not true. We know that. Budweiser is not to blame because you drink 5 cases of beer every 2 days, or you have liver cancer. It's not Budweiser's fault. It's your own damn fault. Because you didn't use their product the way it was meant to be used. It wasn't meant to be chugged. It was meant to be sipped, to be enjoyed, to be occasional. Cigarettes were not meant to be used, like I said, as a food group. But once the tobacco industry started, I guess, getting disfavor, all of a sudden it was anathema. You were not allowed to take money from the tobacco industry if you wanted to be elected into public office, because the people in the public, the constituents, the voters who had been brainwashed that it was the cigarettes and even secondhand smoke from cigarettes that were killing people who didn't even smoke. They bought into all this shit. And they said, oh, wow, if you're taking money from the tobacco lobby, we're not going to vote for you. So the tobacco lobby went away. Now, let's compare this to the NRA. And oh, by the way, I don't think any cigarette or cigarette smoker ever managed to kill 17 people in 7 minutes. I don't think that ever happened. I also don't think that any cigarette smoker or tobacco product ever took out 59 people at a rock concert or a country music concert or killed a bunch of people in a church. Don't think that happened. So, anyway, just saying. Now, let's go to the National Rifle Association. Many of you are too young to remember the actor Charlton Heston. He was a great actor, very good looking, tall, good looking dude. He starred in the original Planet of the Apes movies, long before Mark Wahlberg was even born. And he was a great actor, and he probably should have stuck to acting, because his other distinguishing part of his life was he was the president of the National Rifle Association. In one of the Planet of the Apes movies, which I'm sure you never, some of you never saw, humans didn't speak, but apes did. So he actually was the first human to say, "Get your hands off me, you dirty, filthy ape." And what he did was, when he became president of the NRA, he took that into that. He made a speech and he said, "Get your hands off my guns, you dirty, filthy government." The National Rifle Association has been so powerful in electing our leaders, our congresspeople, our senators, especially on the Republican side. Okay? They don't want to deal with the Democrats, because the Democrats are the ones who are trying to push through true gun laws to make it harder for nutcases like the Florida monster, like the church monster in Texas, like the Vegas monster, to get guns. The Democrats think that, the right to bear arms that the forefathers penned in the Second Amendment did not include military-style automatic MR-16s and M16s and AR-15s, that ordinary citizens really don't need these guns to protect themselves, their property, or to kill a deer for food. We're going to talk about the Founding Fathers a little bit in a moment. So the NRA basically says you can't get elected as a Republican unless we vet you first. We're your first stop. And if we don't give you an A rating, you're not going to get your job. You're not getting elected. You won't get hired unless we give you an A rating, because when you get that A rating, when you promise us that you are not going to pass any laws that stop any American citizen, including a nutcase, from getting a gun, any gun they want, as much ammo as they want, if you're going to pass laws like that, we're not going to give you that A rating, and we're not going to give you any money. But if you promise us that you're going to stand up and make sure that any American citizen who wants a gun, and even some illegals too, can get one, we'll give you billions of dollars. You are going to get elected. We will tell our members, and our members are plentiful, we're going to tell them to vote for you. That's how the NRA works. The fact that children are being murdered in their school, that concert goers are being murdered just for going to a country concert, the fact that people can't go to church anymore without being afraid, that someone's going to have a problem with someone in their church and come in shooting. The NRA doesn't worry about that. But with the tobacco industry, where people actually choose to use the product, and they might get sick, they might not get sick. Well, they're not wanted in Washington anymore. We don't want the tobacco industry's money. But we definitely want the NRA's money. Let's talk about the Second Amendment and when it was written, which is more important than what it says. This is the 1700s, people. People were bearing arms, but they were muskets. You ever see a musket? You're not going to take out 17 people in 7 minutes with a musket. In fact, the way muskets were made, you might even take your own face off because they backfire. This is what the Founding Fathers said that every citizen had the right to bear. To protect themselves and their families, not from being expelled from school, not from shooting up the office because they got fired, not from threatening the wife and the kids and the ex-wife and the ex-in-laws. The Founding Fathers said every citizen needed to protect themselves from foreign people coming onto our soil to try to, the British and the Indians and people who were attacking the colonists. They were dangerous times back then. People didn't have Xfinity Plus security systems in their houses. They didn't have fences around their houses. They didn't have locks on their doors and deadbolts. They didn't have security cameras. They didn't have police forces. They didn't have FBI. So yes, the citizens had to protect themselves back then. Things are different now. Our Founding Fathers could have never imagined that their little children would take a musket and go to the one-room schoolhouse and kill their classmates. Or walk into church because they have a grievance with somebody with a musket and shoot up the church. They never planned for that when they wrote the Second Amendment. Never. And of course, they couldn't even fathom the way that weapons would evolve in the 200, 300 years after the Second Amendment was written. That, a musket would turn into a rifle, and then would turn into a 9mm, and then would turn into an M16 and an AR-15. And that anybody in the world could just walk into a store and get one, even a disgruntled employee, an expelled student, someone whose girlfriend broke up with him, someone who's pissed off at his ex-wife and her family, someone who is suffering from a mental illness where they cannot control their own thoughts. The Founding Fathers never planned for that. And yet this is what we have now. And the NRA is just standing on that Second Amendment. And again, many amendments over the years have changed with our changing times. And this is another amendment that needs to be tweaked, not banned. Don't ban guns. You want a gun, go get a gun. But you need to have to prove that you are responsible and that you're not going to take that gun and turn it on innocent people. The Europeans. The Europeans are reporting this story with awe. They can't believe it. Another school shooting in America. The Australians, they had one school shooting, one mass shooting in 2006. They changed their gun laws, and they haven't had one since. So if you think that changing the gun laws won't save lives, look to Australia. They had a couple of their babies killed, and they said never again. And guess what? Never again. Because they made it harder to get the weapons. When an illegal immigrant kills an American citizen, our government says, oh my God, we have to get rid of all the illegal immigrants because they're killing our citizens. One person or two people or 10 illegal immigrants murder an American citizen. And even our president, Donald Trump, is saying, let's get rid of the immigrants, deport them all. They're murderers. And yet when 17 innocent children are killed, gunned down in their high school, along with their teachers, oh well, it's the FBI's fault. They're busy investigating me. They couldn't investigate this monster. It's always somebody else's fault. It's not, well, we need to figure out how to get rid of what is killing our children in their schools. It's a double-edged sword here. It's a double standard, isn't it? If an immigrant kills someone, we're going to get rid of all the immigrants. They're the problem. When an AR-15 kills a bunch of kids and a bunch of innocent people in a movie theater, at a concert, in churches, in schools, on college campuses, we don't start to think maybe the AR-15, the gun, is the problem. It is the guns, stupid. Maybe it's the guns. Maybe we don't need to be letting citizens who are not properly trained by professionals to use these weapons are able to walk into any gun show at 18 years old and buy one, or a gun shop, that perhaps that's not part of the problem? The guns? Remember yesterday, the guy who said, oh yeah, I saw people killed with shovels and bricks. Yeah, let's get rid of all shovels and bricks. Really? I guarantee you that if some nutcase was able to walk into a building and kill 17 people in 7 minutes with a shovel, we might start thinking about that. But don't mess with our guns. Keep your hands off our guns, you filthy government. You parents who want your children to be able to go to school safe, when you put your kids on a school bus, you expect them to come home at the end of the day. You keep your mouth shut about my guns, you filthy parents who want your children to live, to graduate high school. How dare you? How dare you try to take our guns? If you are a law-abiding American citizen who has never been convicted of a crime, who has never threatened someone, no one's going to come and take your damn guns. And I would love, for one time, just one time, like these beautiful children have said, Congressman, Senator, President Trump, you can protect your children. One student at Parkland High School called out Barron's name, Barron Trump, Donald Trump's youngest son. You can protect Barron. You can make sure your son is never in the crosshairs. You have Secret Service guarding your son. What do you say to these parents who don't have that luxury? They can't send their children to school every day with Secret Service following them everywhere, making sure nobody messes with them, that nobody cuts their life short. Members of Congress have privileges that most parents don't have. Their children are safe. Most of their children will never serve in the military because they don't have to. They're going to Ivy League colleges. They're protected. What about your children who are going to join the military? Not because they necessarily want to, but because that's their only choice, because they can't afford college. And they don't want to work at McDonald's for the rest of their life and live in your basement. The NRA thinks they own our country. They think that the right to bear arms, the Second Amendment, is more important than the right to live. Your right, your children's right. And we need to think about that. If we are going to say as a candidate that we won't take money from the tobacco industry because the tobacco industry's customers abused their product and got sick without harming anyone else, because don't give me that secondhand smoke bullshit. That's not what this is about. I call BS. Like Emma Gonzalez from Parkland says, I call BS. Their cigarettes never took out a church. Their cigarettes never took out a rock concert. Their cigarettes never took out a school. And yet they won't take money from the tobacco industry, but they will take money from the NRA, National Rifle Association. It should be called the National Republican Association, because that's who they give all their money to. Marco Rubio, John McCain, President Trump. They put their money where they think they will get the most benefit, which means more people in America who shouldn't have guns being able to get them. I'm going to end the show again because this is actually an important day. Elena, Alyssa, Chris, Jamie, Joaquin, Luke, Martin, Nicholas, Aaron, Scott, Carmen, Meadow, Peter, Helena, Cara, Gina, and Alex. Last week this time, you had no idea that you only had 24 hours left to live. When you went to bed this night and woke up tomorrow morning, which will be the week anniversary of this tragedy, you had no idea that when you kissed your parents goodbye, you would never see them again. The teachers who became heroes when you kissed your wife and your children goodbye, you didn't know that would be it, the last time you would ever see them again. But some people knew. The monster knew. He knew that tomorrow was the day. He even scheduled his Uber to take him to his target. Made sure he had his ammo and his weapon all polished up and ready to go. He knew. Had his escape plan made because he wanted to live to do it again another day. Broward County sheriffs knew that this kid was a problem. The school knew that they needed to be on the lookout for him, that he was not allowed on campus, and yet somehow he got in. The FBI had been warned on January 5th that he wanted to shoot up his school. But you angels, who now were drafted into heaven far, far too soon before you should have been. You didn't know. You were just having a great day at school or a bad day at school. Hanging out with your friends, maybe complaining because you had too much homework. Maybe you didn't feel well. Maybe you thought about taking off school the next day, but it was Valentine's Day, so you wanted to go and see if your friends gave you gifts or whatever. You didn't know, you beautiful angels. But today was the last day. The last night, the last watching TV, playing your favorite video game, maybe reading that favorite book that unfortunately you won't get to finish now. You didn't know that. But people did know. And the people who did know let you down. And I'm not offering you prayers, but I will tell you that not one day has gone by since February 14th that I have not thought of you. And I have your names written down on my desk, and they will remain here until you get your demands for change in this country, till you achieve your goals now, those who survived, of being the last school massacre in the United States of America. Political Paula is out.